So,
Good morning, Dada. Good morning, everybody.
We have to read to the paragraph, Rangada.
yeah. Good morning. Page 728. And Brahman, the absolute, is a spirit. If everybody has got it, we can start reading. Somebody has to tell me whether we have already read it or we have to read it.
We have already read it, Rangada.
Okay. In that case, I will read each sentence. Yeah. Okay. I'm starting. The Brahman, the absolute, is the spirit, the timeless self, the self-possessing time, Lord of nature, creator and continent of the cosmos, and immanent in all existences, the soul from whom all souls derive and to whom they are drawn. That is the truth of being as man's highest God conception sees it. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, one sentence, and we normally understand by Brahman the self. That is to say, when your consciousness goes into a plane where there is no movement at all, you are static, you feel yourself to be outside the universe, and you feel yourself to be infinite, immortal. You have always existed because you are now identified with yourself, and you know that you have always existed and you will always exist. You are the imperishable. The body, mind, life is perishable, but you are the soul, you are the consciousness. So that is the Brahman. But here he is saying that Brahman is everything. Okay. So because we have got very fixed ideas and we have got divisions. Okay. We always want to divide things and understand for clarity's sake. But the divine is he is everything. He is in everything, he is outside everything, he is also dividing himself up. So this whole sentence which here now we have shows you how inclusive and how our ideas of, for clarity's sake, we say Brahman means only this. No, he is saying that Brahman is everything. So we'll have a look at that sentence now and see what it means. The Brahman, the absolute, is a spirit. The absolute is not the Brahman normally. The Brahman is, as I said just now, the self at the level of the higher mind, you can experience it. That doesn't mean to say that the Brahman doesn't exist at the higher levels. It includes more. But at the higher mind level, it is only Brahman. It is not the absolute. It's only Brahman. Okay? But here he is telling you all the things that he can be. The Brahman, the absolute, is a spirit. The timeless self. Now, timeless self is exactly what we understand by Brahman. Okay? You enter into the self at a higher mind level, and it is a timeless. There is no time and no space there. The self possessing time. Now, that's not normally what the Brahman is. Okay? But the self possessing time, he is master of time, Lord of nature. Now look at that very clearly. Lord of nature is the personal aspect of the divine. Whereas we know very clearly that the Brahman consciousness does not include the personal aspect. So very clearly he is telling us that the divine is everything. Okay? So Lord of nature, he is also creator and continent of the cosmos. He creates the cosmos. Okay? At the highest level, the absolute is not creating. We have an understanding that the absolute does not create. It's only the supermind that creates. Okay? Creation comes through supermind. Above the supermind, there is no creation. Okay? So this is what Swami is saying so clearly, that the divine is everything. Lord of nature, creator and continent of the universe, cosmos. It contains the whole cosmos within itself and immanent in all existences. So continent of the cosmos is a transcendent. Immanent in all existences is a individual. The divine is there, immanent in everything. The soul from whom all souls derive and to whom they are drawn. That is the truth of being as man's highest God conception sees it. We normally understand God to be everything. Okay? The same absolute revealed in all relativities. The absolute divine is there in all the relativities, all the forms in the physical world. Okay? The spirit who embodies himself in cosmic mind and life and matter, and of whom nature is the self of energy, so that all she seems to create is the self and spirit variously manifested in his own being, to his own conscious force of the delight of various existence. So, if you go back to the conception of this Satchidananda, how is creation done? The first creation done is that there is Sat, which is a substance, there is the Chit, which is a consciousness, knowledge aspect, there is the Shakti, which is a force by which creation can take place. Consciousness cannot create without Shakti, without force. Force is necessary for creation. Then finally you have the Ananda. So the same absolute revealed in all relativities, the spirit who embodies himself in cosmic mind and life and matter, and of whom nature is the self of energy, so that it seems all she seems to create is the self and spirit variously manifested in his own being, to his own conscious force for the delight of his various existence. I'm just stopping here because it's reminding you how the process of creation takes place. Consciousness, Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda are all one at the highest level. They are not two, they are not three, they are not four, they are one. Okay? And when they are one, for creation's sake, they cannot be one. Because if it is one, there is no creation. Creation means multiplicity. Therefore, consciousness looks at its own Shakti and separates itself from it. So this is the first division in the oneness of Satchidananda. Okay? It separates itself and looks at its own force and says to it, force, you can start creating, but with my consciousness. Because if force creates without knowledge and without consciousness, it will be chaotic creation. Okay? But if consciousness is there, there will be meaning and there will be sequence and there will be significance to the creation. So, consciousness permitting Shakti, its own Shakti, to create, and where is it creating? Not outside itself, creating within itself, okay? And for its own enjoyment. That's the one. So, consciousness permits Shakti to create forms and giving guidance as to what is to be created and enjoying what is being done. This is what Srila is saying in this sentence. Okay? You can see very clearly. So that all she seems to create is the self and spirit variously manifested in his own being to his own conscious force for the delight of his various existence. There is nothing else except Brahman, so it is creating within itself. And this seeming division is only a seeming. The unity is there all the time, but at the same time, there is division. For us, it's impossible to understand how unity and division can exist at the same time, but we are limited to the mind. Whereas the divine is not limited to mind. Everything is possible for it. So that's what is being examined here. Okay, so it's being expressed here. This is the truth of being, to which man's knowledge of nature and cosmos is leading him, and which he will reach when his nature knowledge unites itself with God knowledge. Which is nature knowledge? That's exactly what science is trying to do. It is trying to understand nature. Okay? The lowest level of the lower hemisphere, science is trying to find out the secrets. Find out the secrets of matter, that is physics. Find out the secrets of life, that's our medicine. Okay? And find out the secrets of mind, psychology. Okay? So these things is the nature nature knowledge. And God knowledge Knowledge of God, knowledge of the transcendent, knowledge of yourself, which is totally different. For one, you have to go inside. For one, you have to go outside. Science is going outside with senses, and you are going inside with your concentration. This truth of the absolute, why is Srila saying all this? Because he wants you to understand the divine in all the aspects, the transcendent, the universal, and the individual, and also nature and the absolute, nature and so Purusha and Prakriti, all these things you have to understand. That's why Srila is saying this. Okay. So when in nature knowledge unites itself with God, this truth of the absolute is the justification for the cycles of the world. So cycles of the world, one by one we are understanding one aspect of the divine. Okay. It is not their denial. When you are experiencing the Brahman consciousness, the world seems to be unreal. But it is not really so. That's what Srila is saying. It is not a denial. It's a stage by stage you are learning more and more and more and more. Just like science tries to understand by making theories. But each theory is defective because you don't have all the data. So as you keep climbing, you get more and more data, and then you go nearer and nearer to the truth. Okay? So it's not a denial. The experiences that you have at one level is not a denial. You are seeing the physical world now real, but when you go to the self, you see the physical world unreal. It is not a denial of the physical world. That's what Srila is saying. Okay? It is not a denial. Very good. No. It is the self-being that has become all the becomings. It's a self-being that has become all the becomings. The self-being. Being is a substance, and the self, where consciousness is there inside, it has become all these things. That is the reason why, even in stones and everything, the meanest thing in the physical world, that the divine presence is there. It is the divine himself who has become all these things. It is the self-being that has become all these becomings. Becomings, all the forms in the physical world. The self is the eternal unity of all the existences. I am he. So, what is this I am he? It's from the Upanishads. Soham asmi. Okay. There are, as Srila says, there are 3 Upanishadic truths which are stand out very, very prominently against all the other religions. One is Soham asmi. I am really the divine. Then Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman. Everything is the divine. And that Tatvamasi, you are that, O Shweta Ketu. So these are the 3 great statements of Vedanta. Okay? Cosmic energy is not other than the conscious force of that self-existent. So cosmic energy in the physical world, the river flowing, the wind blowing, okay, the sunlight coming, this cosmic energy is not other than the conscious force of the self-existent. That means it is really the Chit Shakti. The highest has become the lowest, apparently opposite, and yet it is hiding behind the forms. It's impossible for the mind to think that it is this and it is not this. But that's exactly what the divine is. Everywhere he is there with one aspect. Okay? You have to understand this, and then you will understand the divine fully. That's what Srila is saying. Cosmic energy is not other than the conscious force of that self-existence. By that energy, it takes through universal nature innumerable forms of itself. That energy Shakti, Chit Shakti at the highest level, first creates the universe. And the universe is vast. It is one but vast, and the universe creates a multiplicity. The multiplicity is there in the universe, and the universe creates a multiplicity. It creates beings, animals, trees, all sorts of things. It takes through universal nature innumerable forms of itself. Through its divine nature, it can embracing the universal but transcendent of it, arrive at them at the individual position of its complete existence. So look at the sentence. It takes through universal nature innumerable forms of itself, that is clear. Okay. Through the divine, its divine nature, it can, embracing the universal but transcendent of it, arrive at the individual position of its complete existence. What Sridhar is saying here is that simultaneously the divine can be transcendent, cosmic, and individual. And man also normally experiences are separated. When he sees the transcendent, he has not realized the cosmic or the individual. When he realizes the individual within himself, he is not conscious of the cosmic aspect of the divine, nor the transcendent. But Sridhar is saying, if the divine can take a poise simultaneously of all the three, human beings also should be capable of doing it. Okay? It can, embracing the universal but transcendent of it, arrive at them at the individual position of its complete existence, when its presence and power are felt in one, in all, and in the relations of one with all. This is the truth of being, to which man's entire knowledge of himself in God and in nature rises and widens. Okay? If you continue your spiritual evolution without stopping it in one place, this is the knowledge that you will come to. That's what it is. This is the truth of being, to which man's entire knowledge of himself in God and in nature. In other words, individual, cosmic, and transcendent. And it widens to include all these things. A triune knowledge, one knowledge but threefold. The word biune and triune means actually having three aspects but really one. Having two aspects but really one. A triune knowledge, a complete knowledge of God, a complete knowledge of himself, a complete knowledge of nature, gives him his high goal. Normally, spiritual experience is restricted to only one of these aspects. But Sridhar wants the highest goal to know all simultaneously. Not one by one, not serially one by one, but all together. It assigns a vast and full sense to the labor and effort of humanity. So, this is the goal. The conscious unity of the three, God, soul, nature, in his own consciousness is the sure foundation of his perfection and his realization of all harmonies. This will be his highest and widest state, his status of a divine consciousness and a divine life, and its initiation, the starting point for his entire evolution of his self-knowledge, world knowledge, God knowledge. This is the aim of integral yoga. It's not enough to have only one aspect. Okay? That's what he's saying. He's going on stressing that. And that's the last paragraph of the chapter, God, man, and nature. So once he comes to that, then there is perfect harmony in everything, and everything falls into place. There are no contradictions. So how to go to that? That's the next chapter. The evolutionary process, ascent and integration. So what Sridhar is saying here is that normally when you go from level 1 to level 2, you reject level 1. That's what normally happens. It's very natural. It happens to everybody, in everything, even in ordinary life. Suppose I have a cycle and I am now in a position to buy a motorcycle. The cycle will remain unused. Okay? And if I get a car, even the motorcycle will remain unused, unless in very rare cases. So when you get the better, the lesser is rejected. But Sridhar is not a votary of that thinking. He wants you to ascend, but integrate the lower into its higher knowledge. That way only you will be able to get the knowledge of all the three: the individual, the cosmic, and the transcendent. That's the process. Ascent and integration. Very clearly you can see how now integration is absolutely essential. If you go on rejecting the lower, how will you get knowledge of all the three? You have to keep including. When you go to the self, don't reject the physical world. That's what Sadhguru is saying. And now that's the chapter, how that process takes place. Okay? That's what he's going to tell us. Okay, so we have time. We have got nearly 20 minutes, nearly 20 minutes. So shall we start reading? The evolutionary process, ascent and integration. There is no integration in the other yogas. Okay, you reach one level and you are quite satisfied with that. So who will read today?
Should I read?
Yes, you can. The evolutionary process.
The evolutionary process. Ascent and integration. As it mounts from peak to peak, Indra makes him conscious of that goal of his movement, Rigveda. A son of the two mothers, he attains to kingship in his discoveries of knowledge. He moves on the summit. He dwells in his high foundation, Rigveda. I have arisen from earth to the mid-world. I have arisen from the mid-world to heaven. From the level of the firmament of heaven, I have gone to the sun world, the light, Yajurveda. It is not.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's quoting from Yajurveda. He is concentrated fully on the Rigveda, but he must have read the Yajurveda also, but never translated. So anyway, we go to the next one. The first para.
Okay. It is now possible and necessary, since we have formed a sufficiently clear idea of the significance of the evolutionary manifestation in Earth's nature and the final turn it is taking or destined to take, to direct a more understanding regard on the principle of the process by which it has arrived at its present level, and by which, presumably, with whatever modifications, its final development, its passage from our still dominant mental ignorance to a supramental consciousness and an integral knowledge, will be governed and made effective. For we find that cosmic nature is constant in its general law of action, since that depends on a truth of things which is invariable in principle, although in detail of application abundantly variable. At the outset, we can easily see that since this is an evolution out of a material inconscience into spiritual consciousness, an evolutionary self-building of spirit on a base of matter, there must be in the process a development of a triple character. An evolution of forms of matter more and more subtly and intricately organized so as to admit the action of a growing, a more and more complex and subtle and capable organization of consciousness is the indispensable physical foundation. An upward evolutionary progress of the consciousness itself from grade to higher grade, an ascent, is the evident spiral line or emerging curve that, on this foundation, the evolution must describe. A taking up of what has already been evolved into each higher grade as it is reached, and a transformation more or less complete, so as to admit of a total change the working of the whole being and nature. On integration must be also part of the progress if the evolution is to be effective.
Is to be effective. So what I'll do, I'll read out the summary of this one and then we'll look at the details. Okay, so it's saying, now that we know what evolution is and what is its final goal, in the last paragraph that we read, that's a goal. And what is that goal? To know the divine in all its aspects. Specifically, the transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual. Okay? So that's the final goal. Its starting point and its culmination. The starting point is only ignorance of the mind. Okay. But if you want to go to ignorance of the mind is for the individual evolution. But if you want nature evolution, you have to start from the inconscient. That is the starting point. And its culmination, absolute peak, Satchidananda consciousness, where you have all the aspects of the divine, individual, cosmic, and transcendental. We may now look more closely at its process, its law of development. How does it achieve this? That's what Sindhi is saying. The law of the process of the evolution. Okay, so the evolutionary process, ascent and integration. Just 1 minute. This evolution has a triple action. First, there is an evolution of physical forms, biological evolution also, and a parallel evolution of consciousness which enters and occupies these physical forms. Okay, there is physical forms are evolving. We know very well. Okay, all animals. There are so many different in the animal world also, from the simplest of animals to the most complex of animals, ending with man. These physical bodies are being evolved with more and more senses and more capabilities. But the consciousness also parallelly is evolving. Okay? Only when the consciousness evolves, when the physical evolution is there, then the consciousness of a higher level can enter into that appropriate physical form. For instance, very clearly, an insect cannot have an intellectual capacity. Intellectual capacity is the consciousness at a higher level that cannot enter into a lower animal form. So there has to be an evolution of animal forms and a parallel evolution also of consciousness. And as soon as a form is available into which the consciousness can enter, it enters. That is how from the matter, there's first life comes out. And as soon as life comes out, the consciousness in the stone evolves and gets into a living animal body. Okay? It may be a very low living animal body, worms and caterpillars and whatnot. Then, as soon as it rises to a higher level, it enters more. This is the process. Biological evolution and a parallel evolution of consciousness, it enters and occupies these physical forms. At this point, we may note that Darwinism only deals with biological forms, and that too not necessarily with teleology. Teleology means, is there an aim to evolution, or is it a random evolution of mutation of cells without any goal? Teleology means there's a development with a goal. But there are many scientists who say that there is no goal to evolution. It's only randomly going on producing forms. But others who say very clearly, they say no. Very clearly you can see that even in the biological forms, very clearly there is an ascent. The caterpillar is definitely lower than a cat, and a dolphin or a chimpanzee is much higher than that of a cat, and a man also is higher than a dolphin. So very clearly, and a chimpanzee. So there is an ascent of consciousness. So there is seems to be some goal is there. But now Sridhar is coming and telling us definitely there is a goal. It's not seems to be, but definitely there is a goal. So at this point, we may note that Darwinism only deals with biological forms, and that too not necessarily with teleology. But Sridhar's conception of evolution is that of consciousness. Consciousness. As the consciousness becomes more and more capable, more powerful and evolved, the forms it occupies too must become more and more capable of housing these higher grades of consciousness. Okay. Microbe, worm, insect, animal, man. You can see very clearly there is an ascent. The microbe to worm, worm to insect, insect to animal, animal to man. Man to yogi, and a yogi to Superman. Okay. Secondly, there's an ascent from lower to higher grades, from less conscious, less capable, to more conscious, more capable. So this is what some scientists don't notice. Thirdly, as each new grade appears, it transforms the lower grade without rejecting it. Now, there is a very interesting and very important point. In nature, there is no rejection. When man is doing yoga, he rejects the lower. But nature, there is no rejection. When life comes up, it is integrating matter into itself. Okay? And in man, when mental development comes in, also he is not rejecting matter and life. He has a body and his brain is matter. And the brain is capable of thought. So it is not, man is not rejecting the material plane nor the vital plane. So this is a very important point. Each grade, as each grade appears, it transforms the lower grade without rejecting it. This is why we can say very confidently that even the supramental body will be matter, but it will be very subtle matter and capable of all sorts of things which a normal human being can't do. Okay? It will be matter. So matter, when lifed, okay, becomes living matter. Plants, insects, animals. When living matter is infused with mind, which is a higher grade, it becomes mentalized matter, which is the brain. Finally, this process must terminate in matter, becoming supramentalized or spiritualized matter. This is what we are saying in the Bible. Now, we have 5 minutes. We'll try to go through each sentence. But before that, you can also see the 3 quotation that he is giving. Okay. The last one is relevant to the ascent and integration. In one place, Srivastava says in Life Divine that evolution can be of 2 types. One is you rise to the highest level and then from there slowly pull down that into the lower grades. In other words, you rise in consciousness to, I am taking only one aspect. Go to the self and from the self try to bring down the consciousness of the self into the mind. And once you have done that, try and bring it down into the vital. And once you have done that, try and bring it down into the body. Okay. So basically, that's exactly what Mother was trying to do. Bring the consciousness down into the body. She had managed very well with the mind and the life. And the body was being transformed. The work had to be suspended and postponed, but that was what she was doing. Okay. Whereas there is another one. There is another method. That is, you go to the, from one level to another level, that is, nature is doing that. Nature is going from matter to life and from life to mind and integrating. Whenever it goes higher, it is pulling up the lower into itself. When you go into the self, you don't reject the physical world. There are 2 methods that is being employed. Okay. So he says in the Veda, it's the second method. It's going from plane to plane and integrating. Plane to plane and integrating. Not going to the highest and pulling it down. In fact, it's all ascent. Okay. But to a certain extent, the descent also must be there. Because when you go to the higher level, that higher level must become applicable at the lower levels. Srivastava says I don't remember whether letter or evening talks, but he says that in Baroda, when I had the experience of the self, okay, I found that when my consciousness was coming down to the normal level, I could not use the knowledge that I had of the higher level. In other words, you are seeing oneness, but when you are coming down to the normal consciousness, you are seeing again multiplicity. So I had to do that constantly, one by one, pulling it down again and again and again. And then even when I'm in the physical consciousness, I can see oneness. So that is the pulling down. So ascent and integration both are necessary. Okay? And that's the last one, as you can see. So the first one, as he mounts from peak to peak, Indra makes him conscious of that goal of his movement. And which is the goal? The realization of the transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual. The second quotation, a son of the two mothers. Who are the two mothers he is referring to here? Diti and Aditi. The first division that takes place in the Satchidananda. Diti is the one that creates the seemingly opposites of the divine, the asuras, and Aditi, the oneness, is the one that creates the gods. Okay? That's the first movement. As son of the two mothers, he attains to kingship in his discovery of knowledge. In other words, he has a knowledge of both spirit and matter. Okay? He moves on the summit. He dwells in the high foundation. Now look at that word. High foundation. The foundation is normally below. So when he's saying high foundation, okay, so it's an integration of the higher and the lower. The third one is very clearly the image of ascension and integration.
Dada,
Yes.
who is the son here? Mothers are two, Aditi, Diti, and who is the son?
No, I didn't follow your question.
Two mothers are Diti and Aditi, and who is the son here? The son here in the second sloka was
All human beings are sons, but the son who is mother of both is the one who has realized both spirit and matter. If you have not realized spirit,
okay.
if you have not realized the matter, then you are not a son of both mothers. You are a son of only one mother.
Okay. Thank you, Dada. Thank you.
I have arisen from earth to the mid-world. I have arisen from the mid-world to heaven. From the level of the firmament of heaven, I have gone to the sun world, the light. So this is the 4 levels. Gross world, subtle world, causal world, and the 4th world, which is above. So there is an integration. We are going from lower to higher. The earth is the lowest, the mid world is the second one. What is called if you want, the lowest one is Virat. The second one is the Hiranyagarbha. And the third one is the Karana, okay, or Prajna. And finally, the 4th one is the unmanifest, the sun. So it's 8:40.
Surya, Angada.
Pardon?
Surya, the 4th one.
Yeah, that's right. Turiya, correct. That's right. So we'll redo the para tomorrow. It is now possible. Okay. So, au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day. Okay.
Thank you, Angada.